We'd like to thank you very much for joining us today with Jason White, a candidate for commissioner for Washington County. Jason, this is an unusual time. Once again, thank you very much for coming today. This is an unusual event, and the reason why it's unusual is because you're a Republican who, in fact, the Republican parties don't even want to talk about. Okay, and not only don't they want to talk, but they branded you a criminal. All right, they've actually come out in meetings and said that, which I find is very disgusting. As a social studies teacher, I think my students would be up in arms because of the fact that you can't screw up the election process, which this county has done. Whenever I was county party chairman for the Republican Party, there were many people, and I'm talking about more than 20, who notified us at that time saying that they had submitted their party affiliation cards to the county office, and it kept coming back Democrat, no matter how many times they signed Republican. So this has been a problem. The election has been a problem not only in the county, but also apparently the parties. Yeah, like I said, as a social studies teacher, it really irritates me when people try to bastardize the election process for whatever their goals are, not necessarily the goals of the good of the people. And we're going to be talking about some of these things today. Let's jump right into it. Whenever we received your information, you actually talk about things you want to do. And how dare you? I mean, apparently you're killing the parties by trying to actually figure out ways to clean up things. One of the things, let's talk about your trying to get term limits for county commissioners. Let's talk about that. Give your.
Well, I certainly feel that term limits is something that's been talked about nationally, and I think we've lacked the willpower and the leadership locally to fulfill that. And I wanted to show the people of Washington County I'm willing to lead and I'm willing to fulfill the visions that we talk about. Certainly you've discussed about how, you know, the media can utilize things as a sword. Sadly, you know, I've even had to undergo these attacks because of things like term limits. Something so basic, how is it such a threat? But some people have made careers out of being politicians. I'm not looking to be a career county commissioner. Certainly coming out of the private sector is a huge pay cut for me. Huge pay cut coming out of the mining industry and coming out of management. It's not something I aspire to be as a career politician. I'm not looking to walk on the backs of the taxpayers. I'm looking to represent the taxpayers. I'm not looking to obtain a pension. I've denied that also. I will not vote for a pay raise. I think that's totally unacceptable. If the taxpayers want to give me a pay raise at any juncture, I think that's their decision, not for me to be voting on my own and to be benefiting off the voters.
Well, let me stop you there, all right? Our county commissioners in the last 10 years have given themselves a $30,000 pay raise, all right? That doesn't seem much when you're running a county, okay, as comparison, though, to other counties like Westmoreland, who has over 100,000 more people. They get $10,000 less in salary. So, I mean, like I said, these are issues that most of the people don't know about. They're not made aware of it. It's not public knowledge most of the time, but in fact, it's happening. And whenever you have the same group involved forever and ever and a day, nothing ever changes, and we'll be talking about that again as we go into the program. Let's talk about the, and you want to actually live stream the county meetings.
Well, you just hit a good point. You know, we're voting on things, making decisions. Do the people actually know these things are taking place? Do the constituents actually know that we've had pay raises since approximately 2003 for the elected officials? The answer is no. Why? Every day you can get on Facebook and see the news. You can get on your phone, you can get on the internet and see the news, the TV. Our county holds our meetings approximately at 10 a.m. on Thursdays, behind closed doors. Nothing's recorded, nothing's live streamed. We are extremely archaic in our technological uses in our county. And to me, that is totally unacceptable. It is shortchanging the taxpayers. I don't care what shift you're on at work. You should be able to see and hear and feel what the pulse is of the county, what we are doing, why we are making decisions. If we're paying $10 for a pencil, I feel that the constituents deserve to know that. It's basic transparency. Hiding behind closed doors and making decisions and saying that it's in the best interest of society is not, in my mind, what government's about. I want to be as connected to the people as possible, because when we have a society that we elect people and they disconnect from the everyday person for 4 years until it's election time again, it's almost like Groundhog Day. Every 4 years, people pop their heads up.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
To me, that's what this is all about, is a lot of these things that do not get discussed for a reason, because they're not going to be very positive things with the voters. And I want to let people know and hear and understand what is going on and why Washington County has a lot of issues. And that's why I've been focused for the past year on a positive platform, solutions to our collective problems. This isn't about demonizing or pointing the finger at any one politician or person. This is about Washington County is not doing well. I've knocked on approximately 19,500 doors, and it is sad to go from corner to corner of this county and see what these people are going through. It is sad, truly sad. There are places that are doing very well, and I'm not going to say there aren't. But the overwhelming majority is not doing well, and that's because we've lacked redevelopment. We certainly know how to develop. It seems that we can go onto a farm and dig it up and put new houses. It seems that that's a status quo kind of thing in our county, and I'm not, I understand that we need to develop housing. There's a lot of parts of the county that need new infrastructure. We don't utilize the river system, the rail system. Multimodal transportation seems to be an afterthought in our economic policy, which I think is totally backwards thinking. Then we wonder why, our roads are so beat up. Well, when you're putting every load of cargo on a road, you're totally dropping the ball from an economic perspective. We've done a lot with administrative positions, which I think is good. It's a good piece of the puzzle. But I ultimately decided to run in the fall of 2017. I attended a meeting, the Monongahela Area Revitalization Committee, and the elected officials were there from the county, and they were asked, what's your goal for the Mon Valley? What's your vision? And at that time, the Shell Cracker Plant had already announced that it was coming to Southwest PA. And from my economic history and business history, I knew that if that approximate $9 billion investment was coming, we needed midstream and downstream opportunities along river and rails and roads. We needed to truly utilize and maximize our economic potential in Southwest PA. And it was said in that meeting approximately that, well, we're going to wait and see what the energy industry does. We don't really have a plan. I couldn't believe it. I totally couldn't believe it. The opportunity that we have and have squandered in this county is truly unprecedented. We should be having manufacturing facilities growing. We should be building and sustaining, family-sustaining jobs. Not everybody can work in an office. And the river and rail systems and highway systems that we have at our disposal, not to mention the airport, which I think needs upgraded too, we should be prospering, not dying. And our economy in many regards in this county is withering away.
Well, let's talk about one of those issues about the economy and the governance of organizations in the county. As maybe people know, or maybe they don't know, the local share account has been in the news. The Observer has done a couple pieces on it. Representative Bud Cook has, in fact, he's a member of the Gambling Commission. He has questioned it extensively. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of it. Two things, and this is what really should set people off. Okay, one from the district administration individual. Whenever Mr. Cook or Honorable Bud Cook asked to see the minutes, this is the reply that he received. As to the review committee, no formal minutes were taken, but I'm sure that the notes of the representative from the legislative delegation would be available to you. We take minutes at PTA. We get approved the next time because that's the process we follow, Robert's rules. How can an organization that gives out multi-millions of dollars not take notes?
Status quo.
Well, and that's, like I said, the status quo is something, and these people won't be able to see it real close. This is an example of the budget for 2008 for the LSA. Now, I'm going to go over this just fast, just tell you the difference between the white and the red area. The white area are all the organizations that are not associated to the people who are on the committee. The red areas are the people who are. Now, the bottom line you see down here, the total amount that was available was $7,812,640. The total that the group in red received was $5,370,000, over 40%, actually over almost 60% of the total. Now, many of these organizations, I know them, they do good. They do good for the community. But we're not supposed to be in the business of making sure the people on the committee vote for themselves. Now, I mean, call me crazy, but I think that that's something that should have been looked at. We have a Auditor General that has been requested by the district attorney to look into it a couple years ago. Apparently that wasn't done. Mr. Cook is asking them in a recent letter to them to in fact do the same thing. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Like I said, these organizations do good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to slam them. But the bottom line is this is not the way things should be done.
Well, it's concerning to me that municipalities are held to a standard, school boards are held to a standard, Boy Scouts of America are held to a standard. It seems that, we're lacking some records and lacking some transparency. And as I've stated, in my campaign throughout the whole process, I want to be as utmost honest, sincere, and open to the public as physically possible. In situations like this, hey, the representative's doing his job. He was elected to represent the people, to be transparent and accountable. That's what he's doing. Certainly, he's bringing attention to something that is a major concern. Let's not forget, things like this are supposed to be available at all times. It's not supposed to be going down a black rabbit hole trying to figure out, meeting minutes. And we shouldn't have to go through constant excuse making or finger pointing. This is a basic thing here. I mean, I can't think how much more basic it could be. So, I mean, if the Auditor General comes in, or if, the state does a review of this process, I mean, hey, if everything's rainbows and butterflies, then certainly nobody should care about, having a review. But I would say it certainly is extremely concerning that there's red on that paper, and also that we're lacking records therein. And I don't think I just think we need to review it, fulfill the process, and be transparent to the people. And it seems right now we're certainly lacking in that regard.
Well, I started off by saying that you were told you were being called a criminal.
Yeah.
Okay. My wife and I own a company. And when we hire, or whenever she does consultant work, she does hiring for other companies. And I think I mentioned this to you, that I was going to investigate you.
Yes.
That I was going to find out why they were calling you a criminal. And like I said, and I did. I found out that if you're considered a criminal, everybody is, because you have 3 speeding tickets over the last 20 years.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I find that to be appalling that the local politicians on the party that you are with, all right, won't talk to you, but they will talk to Democrats in their meetings, which I find is really, I mean, that's against their bylaws too. But they're so far against their bylaws without letting their committee people vote on what they're supposed to be doing. It seems like the people at the top are sharing their univision, and they want everybody to drink the Kool-Aid. And that's why you're here today. You're not here because I believe, once again, that the system should work. The primary, the people will select who they want to win based on the knowledge, not based on my opinion. My opinion doesn't mean squat, okay? It's what you bring to the table, what any elected official brings to the table. I was chastised the other day. I did a program here about our swimming pools, how I didn't think that they were proper. We're spending $20 million over the next 20 years for 2 swimming pools when we could have spent $5 million and benefited the entire community. I was chastised in our school board meeting for it. But then as the time went on, the person who chastised me was agreeing with me. So, I mean, it's interesting to see how that happens. But you know what? The township and the school board has minutes, and people can look at that program and see it. The county, you can't do that. And that's, like I said, so, I mean, we've been doing this for years now. I mean, since I've been on the school board now for 8 years, we've been recording our minutes, and people can go on to, and onto the cable, and they can do the history of anything they want to see. But we can't do that at our county level. It's not like we did it this year and they said, well, we should do that too. No, they haven't done a darn thing. Okay, and that's what, like I said, your frustration, I can see. My frustration is, to be perfectly honest, I don't like to see the election process skewed by people who are telling stories and people who are not telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And Jason, I never met you before this cycle. I don't know, but whenever I talk to people in Mariana, where you're from, they really like you because you've done things for the community. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, I'd like to talk about, I'm proud of where I come from. I grew up on a dairy farm and a cattle farm. I've thrown more hay bales and shoveled more cow manure than I can certainly even count or fathom. I achieved 4 college degrees while working as a coal miner, and I was blessed to work with some of the best people that put food on the table for our communities, turn the lights on for us. Taught me to be a man, really ingrained me as a human being. I still have coal in my knuckles, and I'm proud of that upbringing. For what I found in politics, though, is that is a threat. You mentioned about, from Marion, I was one of the original founders of the largest canoe race in anything that floats in Pennsylvania. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I love recreation. I think we squander those opportunities here in Washington County. I was part of a group that proved in Mariana that if you tap your opportunities and realize what you have, you can go to the moon. I went on a trip once to Wall Drug, South Dakota, and if everybody at home has the opportunity, I'd certainly encourage you to look it up. For 100 miles, there are billboards along the highway that say, "Stop and have a free glass of water at Wall Drug." Sure enough, you get off the highway, you get into that main street, and they have a hustling, bustling community based upon the proposition of a free glass of water. Now think about that for Washington County, the coal history, the steel mills, the heritage that we have, the Whiskey Rebellion, the farmlands, the people that have come here, the presidents that have stayed in different buildings and our historical monuments, our veterans. I just think that I see the opportunities that we have, and I empower people to be successful. The negative attacks, what that tells you in politics is that the establishment is losing. I've been focused on positivity for over a year. Certainly, those pointing the finger, and this is a lesson for everybody in society, those pointing a finger have 3 pointing back at themselves. And in this proposition, it's the same thing. We need to acknowledge why are these people saying what they're saying? Why are they doing what they're doing? You brought up about LSA, good point. Travel and tourism, missing opportunities there. The things I'm talking about really highlight that we're really dropping the ball there. Our economy. I'm talking about multimodal transportation, the economic benefits therein. That's a threat because it showed that we've really squandered those opportunities. Blighted buildings. We talk about we want to tackle the opioid crisis. We don't even keep track of blighted buildings in this county. We've done next to nothing to address industrial brownfields. There's approximately 10,000 acres in this county. What are we doing? And then we hear, oh, well, there's not any money. Of course there's money. You know why there's money? 2 of the biggest coal mines in the country are in this county. They get taxed every day. We the people are taxed. It goes into a federal grant pot, 18 cents a ton. It's our job as a county to request that money to then clean up these industrial brownfields, blighted buildings, etc., and to allow our communities to take the anchor off and to move in a positive direction. That's what I want to do. I want to take the anchor off of these communities and show them how to be successful, convey knowledge, and I think that knowledge is a threat because now I'm not going to be serving the politically connected. I'm serving the people.
Well, let's talk about that. I'll call them Mutt and Jeff that are on the internet bad-mouthing you.
Yeah.
Now, once again, I don't come on this program without doing some investigation. People know that. I hope they do. These 2 women are associated with one of your opponents. Mm-hmm. Not only are they associated with one another, but they're both disgraced. They were both fired, one from Rick Saccone's office, one from Bud Cook's office. It's interesting to see that people can spew their spleen all over the internet, and some people are dumb enough to listen to them. But whenever you see the connections, as seemed to be the entire process here, it makes me sick. Like I said, once again, I served 20 years in the military. My oath of office is to protect the Constitution. Election is part of that Constitution. I watched National Treasure the other day, and it has a part in whenever they go into the National Archives, and he says something about a line in the Declaration of Independence, and as he puts it, if something's wrong and you have the ability to do something about it, it's your responsibility to do something about it, and that's why you're here, because of the fact that I do have the opportunity. And believe me, I'm gonna make some Republicans very upset with me, and I really don't care, because once again, telling the truth, my father wasn't what I considered going through high school. I thought he was the dumbest guy ever, because I found out going through life, not only was he very smart, but he was almost a genius in some areas, including math. I was the fool, okay? But he taught me respect the system. And we have two parties. I mean, let's face it. We have a governor in New York who's letting criminals out while they're killing babies. We have, people saying we don't have a crisis on our southern border when we have hundreds of thousands of people there and more coming in. Common sense is not common anymore. And you hear the stupidity every day by these younger members of Congress who now all of a sudden get a mouthpiece just because they open their mouth. We really do have to do something in this country to get back. And when I graduated from Peters in '68, our government teacher, he would be pulling what left of his hair out if he saw our country today doing what they're doing. The stories that are being told, the lies that are being told, not just stories. Like I said, there's so many different things that I could go into, but we're limited in time. But I want to go over a couple more of the things. Voting reform to ensure election security. I don't see that on any other stuff. I don't see on it. We have 4 million people in this country, more on the election than we have people. Now, only adults are supposed to vote. So how can that be? How can we have 328 million people on our voting rolls when we only have about 200 million adults? Now, to me, that demonstrates a voting fraud. Some people not so much,
Well, I certainly believe that our voting process in this county needs audited also. We need to look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how can we do it better. There's always ways to improve. There's 99 ways to fail and 1 way to succeed. I mean, last fall alone, Washington County misplaced absentee ballots. That's fact. How do you misplace votes? Every vote should count. I don't care what party affiliation you are. It's irrelevant. When we can't even handle the voting process properly, why would anybody think that our officials are going to handle anything else properly?
What's interesting is, and many people don't know this, I grew up in Queen of Heaven Cemetery. Our old farmhouse was right across from Rex Glass. It was the original farmhouse of the property that turned over to Queen of Heaven. And every day I wonder how many of those people vote. That's been there since the early 50s. And I'm sure that a good percentage of them vote every election. And it's sickening whenever you think about it. You have the students here, and in many schools being pushed, but they're being pushed to the socialist idea that socialism is. Most younger people think socialism is better than communism. Where the hell did that come from?
Well, it's certainly been a media and weaponized tool to. We've done a poor job as conservatives in educating our youth, and that's a collective issue. And that's why when you're talking to me about that I hit on talking points and that I'm very issue based, it's because I acknowledge that when I grew up in a community, I realized that molds you. The quality of your school molds you. The quality of your community molds you. the quality of your family and those around you and those that want to be role models mold you. And for whatever reason, as a society, we've lost sight of that. We've allowed our youth, in many regards, to be subjugated to the media and whatever mechanisms possible to guide them. And I feel that if I can inspire people to do good and show people that if we start taking care of things in our back window, I actually was at an event the other day, and I told people, I said, I would ask you that if you want your news, look out your window, not the TV. Because if you start acknowledging what's in your community, that's how you truly inspire change.
Well, I have one thing to say, and then I'm going to let you talk because we're almost running out of time. As I've mentioned on this program before, I was a guard in The Silence of the Lambs, the movie. And whenever they were filming it in '88, Jonathan Demme was looking for a place to have a timepiece in the 40s or the 30s. And the next day, his people came back, and he said, "What are you doing?" They said, "We found it." He said, "What do you mean you found it? What's it going to cost?" They said, "About $300." He said, "What are you talking?" I'm listening to them while we were at lunch. I said, "What are you talking about?" He said that. And they said, "Brownsville. All we have to do is change one light. And we can use that place as a 1940s timepiece because it hasn't changed since 1940. And now when you talk about blighted areas, those people, I could go on to a whole other edition about that. I want you now to spend the last couple minutes talking about why people should think about you for this election.
Well, certainly, I thank everybody for this opportunity. It's been an honor and a privilege to knock on 19,500 doors and have conversations with the people of Washington County. It's been humbling. As I've gone across the county, we have immense opportunities, and certainly you all know the issues therein. I'm focused on positivity. I'm focused on a mission here to better our collective society. Every community has different opportunities. That goes without saying. And we all need to work together. This isn't about representing a small political faction or some particular political party. I'm representing we the people. That's why on all my literature it talks about we the people. We have to work together as a community, as a family, and truly head in a positive direction. And certainly for the past year, I focused on positivity and what I want to do to guide our county in a very positive direction. And I ask for your vote on May 21st. Thank you so much.
Jason, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate the opportunity. Once again, I'm reserving everything until the primary, and I know you understand that.
Yes, sir.
So the bottom line is, I wanted to give you the opportunity to be here to give your side. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming today and joining us with Talking Politics in Western Pennsylvania with Jason White running for County Commissioner. Thank you.